From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Clearly, if we went so far as to default on the debt, it would be a major crisis because the Treasury security is viewed as the safest and most liquid security in the world. It's the foundation for much of our financial system. And the notion that it would become suddenly unreliable and illiquid would throw shockwaves through the entire global financial system.
Debt default? Will the debt ceiling be lifted as Republicans push for massive spending cuts? Obama's agreed to many, but Democrats want to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthy as well. Then a D.C.-based nonprofit's crafting legislation that's straight out of the corporate playbook. The Center for Media and Democracy's released 800 model bills drafted by the group. We'll speak with the center's Lisa Graves. Then thousands of prisoners in California's troubled prisons are in their second week of a hunger strike.
Our backs are up against the wall. A lot of us are older now. We have serious medical issues coming on, and we believe that this is our only option of ever trying to make some kind of positive changes here is through this peaceful protest.
Prisoners and their supporters describe the conditions inside California's Pelican Bay Prison's special isolation wing as inhumane. We'll go to California for the latest, and we'll speak with a relative of one of the prisoners on the hunger strike. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The chief executive of Rupert Murdoch's British newspaper division has resigned in the wake of the phone hacking scandal engulfing Murdoch's media empire. Rebecca Brooks was editor at News of the World tabloid when it hacked into the voicemail of murder victims and their survivors. As one of Murdoch's top confidants, she had faced intense calls to step down when the scandal broke, but Murdoch and his son James had defended her tenure. Brooks now says she will devote her full attention to cooperating with a police probe and a British parliamentary inquiry. Her resignation comes one day after another former News of the World executive, Neil Wallace, was arrested, becoming at least the 9th person detained in the scandal so far. Pressure is also growing on Murdoch's holdings here in the United States. The FBI has confirmed it's launched a probe into allegations that News Corp employees tried to bribe police and hack into the voicemails of people killed in the 9/11 attacks. On Thursday, a crowd of protesters gathered outside Rupert Murdoch's Central Park home to urge a congressional investigation into News Corp. Rashad Robinson of the group Color of Change attempted to deliver a petition calling for the firing of analyst Eric Bolling at the Murdoch-owned Fox News for making racist comments.
Folks are finally willing to stand up to Rupert Murdoch. At a Color of Change and our allies, we say that it's not just about the wiretapping, but it's about the agenda, the ugly agenda that is focused on driving Americans apart for far too long.
Among other holdings, the Murdoch empire in the United States, News Corp owns the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and Fox. The Libyan government is denying reports it's developed a plan to destroy the capital Tripoli should rebels seize control from Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. A Russian envoy had said he was told the Gaddafi regime would set off a number of bombs across the city if it falls to rebel forces. Gaddafi spokesperson Musa Ibrahim denounced the claim.
This is absolutely unfounded. It's untrue. We would never bombard our cities. We never bombarded any Libyan city, as we have proved to the whole world. We contacted the office of Mr. Margilov, and they told us that they never issued such a statement, and that they find it very strange that this has been reported as a statement by Mr. Margilov.
Kenya is opening a new camp on its border with Somalia to accommodate refugees fleeing the region's worst drought in decades. The Kenyan government says the camp will take in around 80,000 people within 10 days. An estimated 380,000 people are currently living in nearby camps meant to hold less than 1/4 that amount. The United Nations describes the Somali drought as the worst humanitarian disaster in the world, with more than 11 million people in need need of life-saving assistance. A doctor at a Kenyan hospital said he is seeing increased arrivals of children suffering from severe malnutrition.
In the last few weeks, we've been seeing increasing cases of children with severe malnutrition. These children, most of them come with complications resulting from acute malnutrition. The children that you have seen in the wards, most of them are very sick, and most of them come here with inability to feed, and we have to feed them through the nasogastric tube.
In Yemen, at least 6 people have been killed in a U.S. drone attack. The bombing reportedly struck a police station seized by militants. The Arab League is backing the campaign for recognition of an independent Palestinian state at the United Nations. At a meeting in Qatar, Arab League members agreed to ask the UN to accord Palestinians full member status in the General Assembly. Palestinian leaders want the UN to recognize an independent state in the occupied territories with East Jerusalem as its capital. The Obama administration's vigorously campaigned against the move, and Congress has approved a measure threatening Palestinians with a cutoff of aid if they persist. In Ramallah, Palestinian negotiator Saeb Erekat urged the U.S. to end its support for the occupation.
After the Israeli government has refused the principle of a two-state solution on the basis of 1967, after the Israeli government has refused to halt settlements, I believe it's time for the American administration, if it truly wants peace, security and democracy in this region, to stop treating Israel like a state above the law, to stop providing the protection for the Israeli actions.
There are concerns, meanwhile, Israel seeking to provoke Palestinian violence in an attempt to disrupt the statehood bid. This week, a young Palestinian man was shot dead in an Israeli military raid on a Palestinian refugee camp near the West Bank city of Nablus. Israel, meanwhile, has carried out a number of strikes on Gaza, while Palestinian militants have fired around a dozen rockets into southern Israel this month. Former President Bill Clinton's foundation has pledged to address shoddy and potentially toxic trailers it sent to Haiti following an expose in The Nation magazine. In a story covered on Democracy Now!, The Nation reported Clinton Foundation-funded shelters turned out to be a series of trailers beset with problems including mold, shoddy construction, and in one case, worrying levels of formaldehyde. The trailers were built by the same company, Clayton Homes, currently being sued for providing formaldehyde-laced trailers for residents displaced after Hurricane Katrina. The Clinton Foundation says it will now send in a team of experts to address the article's findings. You can go to our website at democracynow.org to see our interview with the authors of the report, Isabeau Doucette and Isabel McDonald of The Nation, and also our interview with Dr. Paul Farmer yesterday, who said that he would make sure that this was investigated. The Pentagon has unveiled a new cyber strategy, declaring the Internet an operational theater of war. Deputy Defense Secretary William Lynn unveiled the plan at the Pentagon.
Just as our military organizes to defend against hostile acts from land, air, and sea, we must be prepared to respond to hostile acts in cyberspace. Accordingly, the United States reserves the right, under the laws of armed conflict, to respond to serious cyber attacks with a proportional and justified military response at the time and place of its choosing.
The strategy was announced just as the Pentagon disclosed it suffered a major cyber attack in March. Some 24,000 Pentagon files were stolen when foreign hackers broke into the computer of a U.S. military contractor. Some of the seized material dealt with what the Pentagon calls its most sensitive systems, including surveillance technologies, satellite communication systems, and network security protocols. The medical group Doctors Without Borders is criticizing the U.S. government for organizing a fake vaccination program in the Pakistani town where it believed Osama bin Laden was hiding. The plot was used to gain access to bin Laden's compound and obtain DNA from his family. In a statement, Doctors Without Borders said the program could threaten relief efforts worldwide, saying, quote, "The risk is that vulnerable communities will understandably question the true motivation of medical workers and humanitarian aid. The potential consequence is that even basic health care, including vaccination, does not reach those who need it most." California Governor Jerry Brown has signed into law a measure that will mandate inclusion of materials highlighting the achievements of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in social science education. Supporters have hailed the Fair Education Act as a landmark victory for LGBT rights movement. According to the group Equality California, studies show inclusion of LGBT education leads to greater student safety and lower rates of bullying. And the Kenyan peace activist Deka Ibrahim Abdi has died from injuries sustained in a recent car accident. Abdi won a Right Livelihood Award for, quote, showing in diverse ethnic and cultural situations how religious and other differences can be reconciled even after violent conflict and knitted together through a cooperative process that leads to peace and development. Democracy Now! Spoke to Abdi at a gathering of the Right Livelihood winners in Bonn, Germany last year.
But many years ago, in 1993, we started a peace movement following the inter-communal clashes that started in the northeast of Kenya but spread in the border areas. And what of our work was to start sort of a way in which state and non-state actors can collaborate and build peace together. People from differences, either clan differences, political differences, religious differences, but trying to find ways in which people can share public assets, can share the public space, can work together, but looking at diversity not as a problem but as a strength.
That was Right Livelihood Award winner, Kenyan peace activist Deka Ibrahim Abdi. She's died in a car accident. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.